Now what we're going to do is transition into something known as our light roast. And that's when we criticize someone or something in society, and we try to give some, positive, constructive feedback. But some of y'all don't deserve it. And this time around, something that black people have been accosted for, harassed for, is now a trend. I think that we said this on the last pod. I think, but if we didn't, we're saying it now. Is that sometimes things that are looked at as ghetto is just culture that white people haven't stole yet.
Mm,
And Tisha is here today to tell you what has been stolen and will now be profited off of by a very well-known white-ass brand. Tisha, will you let the people know what's going on?
absolutely, bro. So, um, this past week or last week, we found that Balenciaga was selling pants that resembled someone sagging. So it was two layered, with the upper region resembling boxers, and then the pants like a little bit lower, and it fits all together. So it's pants that are naturally sagging, and they were selling those for $1,190. And I think this segment is a good way to think about um, why cultural appropriation is really a problem, right? Because when we think about cultural appropriation, we think about how this company is trying to capitalize off of something that was criminalized for black and brown individuals. That, just like you said, Scholar P, that made this trend hot, right? So I just want to kind of dive into the past a little bit and look at some actual laws that criminalize sagging and look at some of the implications and the repercussions of it. So in Opelika, Florida, in 2007, there was a city ordinance that said that men could receive civil citations for wearing saggy pants with exposed underwear in city buildings. That was a $500 fine, and that was just repealed around this time last year. Assuming that it was due to the implications of like what happened with George Floyd, his murder, right? I think 2020 was the idea, like the rally for starting to change some of these things. In 2007, Shreveport also signed a city ordinance against saggy pants with $100 fine and community service. That was repealed in 2019 because it led to the murder of someone named Anthony Childs. Anthony Childs was chased by the Shreveport police department because they saw him walking across an empty lot with sagging pants. They said, "Oh, let's get him. Let's find him." In doing so, they chased him. The car hopped the curb. They chased him. And as they were chasing him, they saw that he also had a gun. So because he had a gun, they decided that they could fire off on him. I think they hit him over five or eight times. And they used the gun that they found while after chasing them for the sagging pants as the reason that police murder was viable. And so just a little context behind that law in Shreveport. Of the 726 people cited in Shreveport, 98% of those people were black. So we can see how pointed these laws are. There is no equity in these type of laws. It's very black and white. If I'm gonna keep it a buck. In 2010, Selma also created a law like this. In 2008, Flint, Michigan also created a law like this. In 2012, in Lorain, Ohio, a man named Darrell Brooks was in court assisting his girlfriend with a traffic citation. He got up to help her out and he returned to his seat. When he returned to his seat, the judge can see that he was sagging, and he held him in contempt of court and sentenced him to 3 days in jail simply for sagging in court. So the main idea around this is that, like, wow, black people are literally demonized and criminalized, and their lives are ultimately altered because of this style of dress and this fashion choice that they have. Um, Balenciaga can come in here, swoop up, and charge you a rack for that. So I think that is like the grossest thing ever, and it's like I'm living in the Twilight world. So Scholar P, I know I dropped a lot of facts on you, but let me know what you think. What do you think about the different like city ordinances, and then what Balenciaga is doing now?
I mean, I think that if you're Balenciaga, of course I assume they don't have anyone as, you know, as intelligent or as well read and researched in this area as you. I think that they saw some people on the street and they were just like, yo, Tom, I got a new one. I got a new one for you, Tom. What if sagging was an actual style that we could sell to the public? And they know that Timmy in the suburbs is gonna fucking like rock out to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's as deep as it goes, right? And so what we don't understand, like you were saying, is this history of you know, Black people being targeted, not and for legal reasons, but for also financial reasons, right? Someone is profiting off the criminalization of Black people at all times, and whether it's sending them to jail or fining them, or you know, there are excuses just to use violence on Black people in general. And so I think that with Balenciaga, if you're going to do this, you got to first recognize where you're stealing it from, how much of it, how this is theft. But then you also got to say, hey, look, we're Balenciaga. People are going to pay $500 for sagging jeans that have been operationalized. And now, what can we do to sort of help mitigate, educate, and sort of try to help rectify situations of Black men who have been targeted for the stuff we're now selling to little white boys and girls in the suburbs. And I don't think they're going to be that deep with it, but I think that we need to start having these conversations, because this type of stuff happens all the time. And if you're going to do that, if you're going to profit off of Black people, use some of that money and that profit to at least target the ways in which Black people have been sort of unfairly scrutinized for the things that you're doing right now. And so I think that this conversation is helpful in that regard.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think you present a way to rectify it because we see that they're capitalizing off of it, right? And we understand how gross that is. A professor from the Africana Studies program in Northridge, Cal State Northridge, says that she sees this as the exploitation of Black culture with the hope of securing major profits.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she understands cultural appropriation is, a scholar that studies cultural appropriation. So we see this as exploitation of Black culture and literally seeking to make not even just like 50 or 100, like a rack. We talking $1,000 off one pair of these little funky ass pants, right? I think that the least that they could do is send that money into like a cycle that's breaking some of the, just like you said, the stigma and the criminalization of it, right? Like, so I think that that is the problem with cultural appropriation, that the people that are gaining capital off of stealing a culture is never taking that capital and putting it, investing it back into the culture. And that's the problem with cultural appropriation. That's what we see when someone calls someone a culture vulture, right? That they're capitalizing off of it, but otherwise wouldn't rock with those people in the first place. They actually are profiting off of the demise of these people. And if you're not trying to break that cycle, then you have to be part of the problem.
Touche. Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, I hopefully someone can send some of this stuff over to Balenciaga and they can think a little bit more critically about it, because it's just like it's sort of like those videos where people go to the hood and they get to play around, have fun, make
Yeah.
videos, and they use those videos for their YouTube channel to make profit and gain fame. And people still got to deal with the realities of the hood. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And so
the
it's just
Paul
like,
Budget, you know?
right, like you're making money off these people who have been targeted for sagging pants, and like you make all these millions of dollars and these people are still locked up or traumatized based on the legal and financial targeting of their Black bodies. And so it's definitely something that we have to pay attention to, and continue. So we got to give them the biggest light roast, because it's just not the thing at all.